all right, so here's the Chinese Civil War in like 4 minutes. Okay, go. So in like the early 1900s, China was ruled by the Qing dynasty, and like people didn't really like them all that much because they were kind of really not that cool. So they tried to fight all of the foreign powers, and they lost a lot. So like you know what else they lost? The revolution in 1911. So then after the Qing dynasty, China had Sun Yat-sen as their leader, but people didn't really like him either. So then came Yuan Shikai, who was like, okay, but what if I was the emperor? So then he declared himself emperor and spent a lot of money on himself and on the government and not on the Chinese people. So then people were like, can you please spend money on us? We're kind of hungry. And he was like, hey, did you see our new currency? It's named after me. But then he died because he was a pissy dude, so whatever. And then afterward, all the old warlords took over because they were like, who's going to be the leader now? Us. Duh. But then Chiang Kai-shek's nationalistic party, the Kuomintang, took over and started to try to unify China. So to unify China, Chiang led an expedition to the north, the Northern Expedition. Didn't really work because the country was like, hey, Mr. Chang, we're kind of being invaded by Japan. Can you help? And he was like, ha, 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 no. So then a lot of his party was like, and they broke off to form their own party, the Communist Party of China. So now Chang had two problems to deal with. Actually, three, because he was ignoring Japan. He had to crush the Communist Party and then also crush all of the warlords' regimes and unify China, which was a lot for one guy to deal with. So naturally, what does he do? He kills a bunch of communists in Shanghai, and all of the people are like, and they start kind of not liking Chang anymore, more so than they already had. But then the communists and nationalists were like, okay, we really need to like fight Japan. So in 1937, they called a truce so they could fend off the Japanese invasions, but they kind of sucked at that. And you know what comes next? World War II. The US and Soviet Union helped push Japan back into Japan, and everything was fine for like 1 year until the communists and nationalists were like, oh yeah, hey, weren't we like fighting earlier? So then they declared war on each other again and fought a lot, but the nationalists were losing a lot of support since they were like huge dicks, like giant foot-long dicks. And everyone was switching to the communist side until eventually the nationalists were pushed into Taiwan, and Mao Zedong, that's the leader of the Communist Party by the way, proclaimed the People's Republic of China, which was really only different from the old China by like one word. Also, it was like kind of communist, but you know. So then Mao Zedong was like, hey, you know what gets my dick hard? Stalin. And you know what Stalin had? 5 year plans. So then he implemented his 5 year plans that totally weren't based off of the Soviet Union's at all. And the economy and industry increased and stuff, you know, minus like the millions of deaths from like famine and stuff. But now China is like one of the leading world powers, and they're on like their 13th 5 year plan right now. So I guess whatever Mao did was effective. So yeah, okay, bye.